Mark Pope's first tournament game as Kentucky head basketball coach. The 3 seed Kentucky Wildcats will be taking on the 14 seed Troy. Why do they not tell me what the math? What is this? You know what?
Feels like they're the Spartans.
Yeah, but like this is the thing for me, Ken Palm. If you're gonna put the teams there, you might as well also put them. They're the Troy Trojans. That's what I thought they were. I was gonna go Trojans or Spartans. I knew they were some type of war hero.
Had to be.
So we got to the point we needed to get to. But in any regard, this is Mark Pope's first game. This is where, I think Kentucky fans love what he's done this season. But it's always come to this point on what he does in March, right? Against when he's the higher seed, playing a 14 seed. What is Mark Pope made of? What is he going to do? Because it all comes down to March success, because that's why they fired Coach Cal, because they were not able to have that success. So, Dion, I'll throw it to you first on what you think of this matchup.
Well, I mean, obviously Kentucky's a more talented team. This is a big game for Mark Pope, in my opinion, because I'm gonna be honest, Arkansas is getting Boogie Fland back. They're going against a Kansas team that feels dead. And then you look at BYU's draw, very generous draw for BYU. Mark Pope's in a danger zone where he could lose this game and his two biggest ops just go on a run.
Yeah.
And that's that's the last thing Mark Pope wants. But I like this game. I was very quick to be on Kentucky, and then I saw a quote yesterday, and now I don't know where I lie, and I want to see where you're at. Troy's head coach went on. I don't know what he went on, to be honest. I saw it late at night, and then like he goes, "I ask every recruit that I recruit, do you eat Waffle House? And if they don't eat Waffle House, he doesn't want
Yeah, okay, that swings something for me. I
them."
love that mentality. I truly do love that. Okay, that I didn't know that coming in. That will affect me later on in this, but I want to touch on Kentucky first because obviously they have guys with nagging injuries. They injuries have kind of played a role in this whole season. They lose Jackson Robinson. Guys have been in and out of the lineup. But the one thing that has, been really nice to see for Kentucky is Otega Owe has like taken this role of like being the guy. Like he has really, I think, taken and accepted the fact that this team needs him to be this scorer and this dog and like the guy that they look at to make plays at the end of the game. And to his credit, at every step of the way, he's really stepped up, especially when Oklahoma's on the other side of the court. But just in general, what do you think it means for Kentucky to kind of have Otega Owe as like the go-to guy in March?
I think it means two things. The one thing that I think it means is you have your guy. You know how you're going to play offense on Friday. You know how you'll play offense on Sunday because I do think they end up winning this game. But you know what you're going to do in these games. It's also why they've struggled at times, though, in
Mm.
my opinion. Otega Owe is not like he's played phenomenal within the role. I think his best role is when he's an offset scorer, like a secondary or third scorer, who could, in theory, go get you 25 points if you need it, but you don't need him to do it. And I think that's where like they struggle is because they need him to do it. So it's twofold a little bit, but I mean, I will say, like, Mark Pope's done a phenomenal job with this team. I think it's unfortunate how many injuries he's dealt with down the stretch because it takes away from how great of a job he did building this roster on late notice at that. So I am rooting for Kentucky to get this win. I'm rooting for Mark Pope to finally get that March win. And I think what they're going to be able to build in the future is going to be special. So I hope they kind of get rid of some of the boogeymen in the closet, I guess you could say, with this run, and then they're able to get going in the next year.
Yeah, and look, Troy's played some high level competition this year, and they haven't necessarily. I mean, obviously they have been a part of blowout losses. They lose by actually they only lost by 16 to Arkansas, by the way. So I guess you can hold that score up in the air once the score of this game occurs. They lose to Oregon by 19. They were in the games at that point. They lose to Houston by 20. That's nothing to necessarily even bulk at. I think it's honestly pretty impressive. They only lost by 20 to Houston. But you look at the rest of their resume, they have two top 100 wins on the year, both of those coming against Arkansas State. Otherwise, they haven't necessarily played the hardest or the best schedule, but they did challenge themselves in the non-conference. I will give them credit for that. I mean, I just mentioned they played Arkansas, Oregon, Houston. So they did challenge themselves, which might pay dividends once you get to this point. But It'll definitely be a step up for them in this basketball game. But Sun Belt Conference, for people who don't watch it, it is some good basketball. Like I understand, like the teams aren't necessarily like the highest Ken Palm teams or anything like that, but they do really play some good basketball. Arkansas State is pretty impressive for them to win the way they in the fashion they did in the conference title game. So I give Troy credit. They are a top 100 team on Ken Palm, so they're nothing to kind of to overlook. The one thing though that doesn't work in their favor is that Kentucky's been a better defensive team as late, but I think everybody knows they're not known for their defense. Well, Troy's known for their defense. They're not known for their offense. Let's just say that. This is one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country. They are a little bit better from two-point range. I will say that. They're top 100 in two-point percentage, where Kentucky is one of the worst defensive teams from two-point range. So maybe this is a game where Troy tries to attack inside, but at the same time, like you say that to yourself, a team's trying to upset somebody and they're attacking them on the inside, right? Like that's not usually how it goes. I mean, not to uncover some wounds here, but like Jack Golke didn't attack Kentucky inside, right? It was a lot from 3-point range, and Troy ranks 339th in the country in 3-point percentage. So I guess I'll ask you this, Dion, what is the path for Troy in this basketball game? Because two things that stick out to me. They don't shoot threes and they turn the ball over a lot. Now, Kentucky ain't forcing any turnovers, so they're good there. But they do not hit the three and they turn the ball over a lot. And that's just not something that I look for in someone to pull off an upset.
Yeah, I mean, listen, so they don't they if Kentucky can't force turnovers, they can't stop anybody either. So like if you're Troy, I would say just score the ball. They're not a good defensive team. That's going to be their biggest issue. If they if Kentucky's worst nightmare matchup for a lower seed, in my opinion, would have been a poor offensive team that plays good defense.
Mhm.
Because if they can stop you, you're going to elevate their offense. Like that's how bad of a defensive team I think Kentucky is at this point. Where it's like if you're the 100th ranked team in the country, typically you play Kentucky, you're probably closer to 50 in that game. You know what I mean? And so I think that would have been their worst nightmare matchup. The Troy matchup, something that I think is going to play into their hands a little bit. Um, because I don't view Troy in that light. So I think if Troy were to come out, they play defense. I personally would press. Kentucky doesn't have their guards. I think you saw in the conference tournament both against Oklahoma and Alabama when both those teams got to Kentucky, it's when they put ball pressure on Ortega. If you're going to make Ortega bring the ball up the court and grab it, closer to half court per se, get after him right away. Don't let him get comfortable, and I think you're okay. And I think that goes for everybody on this team because when you're missing your point guards, um, it's really hard to get yourself easy looks and everything you have to create on your own. Make it even harder on them, wear them down a little bit, and then hopefully in the second half you're able to go on a run. That's their best bet. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not.
Right. And look, and you hope that Lamont Butler's, healthy enough. I think he's gonna play in this game. I think he'll be banged up. So because he's tough, he's a competitor. I think it'll be okay. But the one thing that scares me, and it shouldn't scare me either, because the one thing about Kentucky that I admire this year is that they are a big game team, right? They get up for the big games. Now, every game in the tournament is a big game. Don't get me wrong here, but I feel like they get up for the big time games. The Gonzagas, they had the win over Duke. They are a team that gets up for the big ones. Troy's not necessarily a big one, but I do think it's one that it is catered for them to handle business if they need to. Just because I don't think Troy's offense can kind of take advantage and hit enough threes to be in a position where they're able to upset Kentucky in this spot. And I think it is one that Kentucky should be able to handle business. Because honestly, like straight up, there's no 3-point shooters on this Troy basketball team, and I think you need to be able to hit threes to beat Kentucky, and I think Amari Williams will be able to do just enough to put some pressure on the other team to score at the basket. Because as bad as we've been saying Kentucky's defense is, it's bad against SEC offenses. Those are some really good offenses. Troy is not anywhere close to a level of SEC offense. You got anything else on this game, Dion?
The only other thing I got on this game It's a big one. Big one for Mark Pope. This is all I got. If he loses this game and Cal and Kevin Young go get wins, I'm a Mark Pope guy. I've been very like he's the best coach in the country to me, and I will stick to that. It's a rough look for that tip narrative if we go out there and lose this one.
Yeah. Got to get past the first one though. That's it. And they should. They should.
They
They
should.
also they also should have a couple the last couple years and they didn't. And look, people don't want to discuss it, but Mark Pope has won zero NCAA tournament games, including a loss to Duquesne last year, one of the best BYU teams he's ever had. So this might be an exercise demon moment for Kentucky and Mark Pope personally. And I think he does in this game. So I will get to the prediction here. Ken Palm has Kentucky favored by 12 in this game, 82-70. Dion, what do you like?
I like Kentucky by 20.
Yeah,
To be honest, I
I
think
wonder, is the line out for this game actually yet?
yeah, some of the Ken Palm lines feel very generous to the underdogs.
Huh. I guess we'll have to kind of find out how because if it is 12, I am going 100% all in on. Wow, wait a
It's
minute.
lower. It's
It's
10 and a
10.
half.
Kentucky is a 10.5 point favorite over Troy.
But I would assume, has Lamont Butler been ruled out yet?
No, I think he's playing.
Is he playing? Is that like official?
Let me see here. He's cleared for the NCAA tournament opener 50 minutes
Oh, I'm
ago.
I'm surprised it's 10 and a half with him being cleared. I assume that number feels like it's still questionable if Lamont plays.
Yeah, I'm all over 10.5. I want to let that be known right now. I think Kentucky wins this game by at least 17 points. So I feel good about that one. But we'll see what happens in this one. As always, we'll have the recap for it. We will also have previews and recaps for every single NCAA tournament game over here on Sleepers Media YouTube channel. We have y'all covered. Enjoy the March, enjoy the madness, enjoy all that.